Hey, it's Jonathan here. We're gonna do a Oprah's comic book club, but there's no Teresa, so I guess this is kind
like
of
a
after hours comic book club. And Nathan is here to face Robbie with a comment that he made. I don't even know where this is gonna go, but I was like, Cage, why aren't you recording? Always press record, Cage.
Well, and yes. Robbie made a comment that he doesn't like Hank Pym, Reed Richards, and Tony Stark because of Civil War. I was just wanted to mention in that two of those three were Skrulls,
Right?
And during Civil War, so it's a kind of unfair to not like those guys during that time. And to go along with that, Tony Stark, the third one, had his brain rebooted and looked back at what he did, and he was like, "Why did I even do that?"
Okay, so when I first got back in, so when I got a real adult job, and I was like, "Wow, I can actually afford comic books now." And so I'm on the internet, I'm looking up like, where do I start if I'm getting back into it? And they're like, "Oh, we'll start with like House of M, go to Civil War, go to Secret Invasion, so on and so Siege, Fear Itself, so on and so forth." So I buy like the collected edition of Civil War because it's like this big hardback book. I was like, this is a great place to start. And Maximum Carnage, but that was like a throwback to my
yeah, that's little kid stuff.
And I read it and I go, man, I hate these characters.
Right. Yes. No.
And the best panel in the book, well, there's two best panels in the book. One, Johnny Storm getting hit with a bottle in the face because he's trying to cut to the front of the line at a club, and he's like, "Oh, tell Paris and Lindsay Lohan I'll be up in a second." And he walks to the front of the line, and these guys are like, "Why does he have to go to the front?" And he's like, "Oh, let me know the next time you save New York from Galactus." And he gets back on his phone. He's like, "Yeah." And then the guy then retorts back. He's like, "How about you go how about you go blow up a bus full of kids?" And he's like, "What'd you say?" And then just out of nowhere, smash, bottom. The second panel, when Cap's got all his dudes fighting against all of Iron Man's guys, and there's a really awesome panel of Spider-Man beating up like 4 Thunderbolts at once, and Reed Richards is watching him. And then he throws his arms in there, and he's like, amazing. And it's like, he's like been all around Spider-Man. He's like, no, spectacular, and fucking just hits him right in the face. And I was like, yes. All right, so and it is probably like good 9-10 months of me only reading Civil War. I mean, like, I hate these guys. Then I get to Secret Invasion. I read Secret Invasion, and I'm like, okay,
it's a super
this is
confusing.
a cop out.
Yeah.
Because even though they were Skrulls, like, okay, let's say obviously they had Secret Invasion planned before Civil War. Obviously they did because they were like, we can't make the good guys we can't have this split forever. So we'll make them Skrulls or whatever. This will be great. We'll bring the Skrulls back from the 60s or whenever it is the last time the Fantastic Four beat them up. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, so Reed figures out that he's got a, Skrull, and they, like, have that weird, like, shoot each other thing. And then Hank Pym figures it out, and then Tony's not sure. And that all happens. That all gets resolved. Where are we at now? These characters are still assholes. Mm-hmm. And, like, not even the fact where Tony Stark's supposed to be, like, a snarky kind of playboy asshole. It's when Tony Stark gets an agenda, and all of a sudden his character switches. Now, I know this is completely in the alignment of the writers, and however the writers want them to act at the time is how they're going to act. And,
right, yes.
Case in point, Avengers vs. X-Men.
You gotta quit thinking of it like that. But just say, it's real life, and Marvel's just writing the stories down.
Yeah. But I still like,
children.
The characters still have...
That's how I see it, and it works.
But that's fine, and I see that in the grand scheme of things. I don't hold a grudge against them for, like... It's like, none of these guys are my favorite characters. But it's like the principle of, like, none of these characters have still done anything redeeming for me to be like, oh, you know what? Reed Richards is not a bad dude. Oh, Hank Pym totally doesn't hit women. Oh, Iron Man... Whatever. Like, they still haven't done anything to, like, redeem them, especially Reed Richards, to my knowledge. Still a self-absorbed asshole that's, like, how does Sue not, like, move on from that?
Well, okay, so...
Love.
Part of that, in Civil War, it's really funny because they had a fight.
Yeah. She leaves.
Well, not only does she leave, she's so upset, she blows a hole in the Baxter building just straight like hole.
Yeah.
And just like flies out like I'm leaving you.
Yeah, and then goes and begs to Namor.
And I just thought that was really funny. Like, her new abilities of force fields or whatever. She just blows this hole. And it's just really cool. But yes, no, for Reed Richards, and again, this might be our inexperience of reading Fantastic Four. He may have something there that redeems him.
Yeah.
For me, I'll start with Hank Pym because his was actually the smallest. Hank Pym, he has this story where, and I forget where it comes in, Jonathan, where he's Wasp. So it'd have to be after
Janet's death.
Yeah, so that's Siege.
Yeah. You're talking about where he decides to quit being a scientist and start being a superhero again? And he puts on the red Wasp outfit?
Actually, it might still be the Black Wasp outfit.
Black and yellow?
Yeah.
That's Secret Invasion era, I think.
Yeah.
Secret Invasion is when she died. It was when Jane died.
They turn her into a bomb. The Skrulls.
No, they just shot her or something. I don't remember. I don't remember how she died. But she died. And so everyone thinks he's having a mental breakdown. He looks like he's having a mental breakdown. But much like Jonathan's saying, like, no, he's getting his life back in order. He's going like, okay, I'm supposed to be a superhero. And at the same time, he's being hunted by, what's his name? Osborn. They're trying to get to him. They're trying to get to his lab. And he's basically escaping. So they've closed off multiple doors. His PIM doors that jump to different places all over. Mm-hmm. He's closed them all off so that Osborn can't get to him, can't get to his stuff. And they basically get to the last one, and he separates them basically from everything else. And so his lab's basically floating in space-time nothingness. And so he needs this special item from Reed that he basically is like, look, I built this with so-and-so, and I need it back so I can fix my lab and, route it back to our world. And Reed's like, no, you can't do that. You don't know the ramifications. You're having a little crisis right now.
Yeah. How
about we talk this over? Because you don't understand what you're doing. He's like, shut up, Reed. I know what I'm doing. He's like, Reed. Then's like, no, you don't. I know more about PIM particles than you do. And he's like, what? My name is in what you just said.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'm coming to get it. So he breaks into the Baxter building, breaks through all his defenses, gets into his room. Reed then separates them into a different space-time. He's like, whatever, I knew you were going to do this. And Reed's like, so what are you going to do about it? He's like, okay, let me show you what I was going to do. And he shows him this space, and he's like, this is what I'm going to put in my lab. And he's like, Reed's just, oh, I'm sorry. Here, take it. And he basically puts Reed in his place. I was like, well, Pym, you have your moments.
It just dawned on me, talking like Iron Man. Tony has had one redeeming moment for me reading comics, and this goes back to the thing you said first of an experience with Fantastic Four comics and Hank Pym, and that was both during Fear Itself, where Tony's fight in France against Grey Gargoyle. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what he Mock. And Hank Pym and the lengths that he went to keep the new Avengers safe against Skirn and Greoth.
Rethoth.
Yeah, Absorbing Man and Titania. Like,
right.
that was some pretty heavy stuff, and like,
And again,
yeah,
that lab he set up
yeah,
became
that's
the
what made
Infinite
me
Mansion.
think. That made me think about it, and I was like, okay, well, those are pretty good, but I mean, I guess like I said, when I named them off, it was Reed Richards at the top.
No.
Hank Pym and
I
then
don't blame
Tony
you.
Stark. Yeah.
I don't blame you for hating any of those guys because yes, they are assholes. They are dicks, and for the most part, they've been written that way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That's like Reed Richards, to my limited knowledge, his only redeeming moment as an actual hero has only been during when he was willing to sacrifice himself to use the ultimate nullifier on Galactus. And Galactus looked at this one person, this ant in the whole galaxy, and was like, he's willing to kill himself and potentially everyone else in this area just to maybe stop me. Because they weren't even sure if it was going to even work.
Yeah.
And because of the whole ultimate nullifier thing is like the whole thing, like if you're focused the whole time, it'll do exactly what you want it to do, and it'll wipe out whatever you want it to kill. But if you have one wavering like nerve of doubt, then it backfires and everything goes to shit. So like to me, I'm like, well, whatever. I'm pretty sure anybody could make that decision at that point of.
But that was decades ago now. Like.
Yeah. Or it was 4 weeks ago in Marvel time. The whole sliding
I'm just saying,
time scale.
What have they done with Reed since then?
Yeah.
Not much.
I mean, we just read a book where he was like, still like ignoring his family, still like,
I would say
self-absorbed in his own stuff, and
even though we keep doing this, I would say read the Matt Fraction run of Invincible Iron Man, because it's actually really good Iron Man. It goes into Bleeding Edge armor, which I think is one of the prettiest armors. And it kind of goes into the whole reboot part. It goes into like him dealing with like kind of losing everything he had and then trying to build it back up. It's a pretty good Tony Stark. And then this is also around the time that the first Iron Man movie came out, or it's after the first Iron Man movie. So everyone's liking Tony Stark. Right. So they had to change the character to make him more likable.
Fair enough.
Matt Fraction did a good job of making him more likable.
Definitely. Matt Fraction is the man.
That is what we're coming down on.
That's what we're coming down on.
So it's like
Matt Fraction will never be on my list of 3 people that I hate.
So like the conclusion, Nathan says Robbie needs to rethink his thoughts. Robbie says Matt Fraction's the man.
And I agree that Tony Stark not so bad, Hank Pym not so bad.
Actually, speaking about that, Hank Pym, the original writer who wrote that comic where he hit Jan, said it was not supposed to be a slap. It was supposed to be a push, to get her off, just don't touch me. And the illustrator took that as a slap across the room.
Yeah. It's the difference between a push away and not a thwip, but a snap.
Oh.
Bam.
Tied that into comic books. Tied comic books into comic books. And we're doing new things on Teresa's Over's Comic Book Club. Alright, you're welcome, because this was bonus. We didn't even need to do this for you. So you fucking enjoy it and click like and subscribe.